really important issue.
As he communicates the need for the size of the force that he needs. We have 31 amphibs today, and if confirmed, I'm committed because we have a validated need for 31 amphibs in addition to it being a law. So if confirmed, I will continue to work with the Commandant and with the Secretary to ensure that we meet the requirements of 31 amphibs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your patience. Thanks to your family as well as you for your service, your husband, Jim, your daughter, Isabel, favorite name of mine because it happens to be my mother-in-law's. So, but most important, thank you for your decades-long service to our country. You and I discussed recently the need for more support for our sailors in all spheres of quality of life, but most especially when their ships are in port for maintenance, long-term maintenance, which requires them to live somewhere. And for Xavier Sandor, it meant living on a ship that was in a sense a construction site without water, quiet, other kinds of tolerable conditions. You and I both know his story and others who took their own lives because of these conditions, and I appreciate your support for the provisions of the Seaman Xavier Sanders Support for Sailors Act, which is included in this year's NDAA. I look forward to Congress approving the NDAA, but I want to ask you again, as we did during our conversation, about your commitment to the need to better care for our sailors in those circumstances, but also provide for adequate housing and counseling for them, which is the thrust and purpose of the measure that Senator Murphy and I have sponsored in the name of Xavier Sandor, and his family's courage and support have inspired us to pursue this issue, and I hope it will you too.
Senator Blumenthal, thank you very much, and thanks for our conversation yesterday. I really appreciated it. So mental health is health, and as someone who has experienced suicide in my own immediate family, there is no one more committed to providing our sailors and their families the resources they need to deal with all of the challenges that they face. As we think specifically about the shipyards and our quality of service, as the Vice Chief, I was appointed by the Secretary of the Navy and the CNO to lead a cross-functional team to dig deep into all of the challenges that our sailors face there. We leveraged the results from several different investigations to go through all of the recommendations, and we've made some good progress. And if confirmed, I will make sure that we continue that progress. One of the key things that we put together is really a mental health playbook that gives leaders at every level all of the information they need, from having good conversations to being able to connect people to the resources they need. And this is being used throughout the fleet, and it's having an impact. But more than that, we need to continue to have high-quality standards for livability and habitability in our shipyards before they move back on board the ship. We are working to move every sailor in an industrial environment off the ship so they have that, as you mentioned, quiet place to regenerate when they're not working. We've embedded mental health closer to all of our sailors in the shipyard, as well as other health resources. We're putting chaplains on every one of our ships, and we're continuing to hire mental health providers. I know it's a national challenge to do that, but we're committed to doing that. So again, you have my commitment that I will continue to work on this if confirmed.
I appreciate that answer. I want to ask you a question about Ukraine, which perhaps you can begin to answer here, but supplement in a written response. There has been a lot of reliance on the Army, our Army, to train Ukrainian warfighters. Our special operators and the Army have been principally involved. I don't know how much involvement there has been by the Navy in our support for Ukraine, but a lot of the missiles and other threats to Ukraine have been fired from Russian ships. off the coast. And I wonder whether there is more armament that the Navy could be providing to counter, for example, the Harpoon missiles and so forth, counter those airstrikes from the Russian Navy in the Black Sea or the Sea of Azov or wherever the ships are placed.
But Senator, the Navy has had a long-standing relationship, with the Ukrainian Navy, as Sixth Fleet. I had many opportunities to go and work with the Ukrainian Navy, especially in one of our exercises called Sea Breeze. The Navy continues to support the presidential drawdown authorities and look for resources that could be used for Ukraine. And I will take that for the record to go back and look if there are any additional records. But again, we are following the support to the presidential drawdown authorities.
If you could take it for the record and without saying whether the Navy would or should provide it, because I recognize you can't go beyond the administration, but talking hypothetically, what could be used that is not being used now? And there may be reasons not to use or provide those arms. So I'm not asking you to endorse the actual provision of specific weapons platforms, but just to give me an idea of what hypothetically could be provided. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Sullivan has assured me he has just 2 more questions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.